Hi, and welcome to That's So Nova. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. Today we're going to be doing a car thread pattern. We're going to be doing the Marzia Bucket Bag, and I'm pretty excited. This is a soft structured bucket bag, and we're going to be sewing it together for the first time. So if you haven't got the pattern, the link to the pattern will be in the description box, as well as it's going to be posted into the pinned comments in the comment section. So grab your materials, grab the pattern, and let's get started. All right, so this is a pattern that is not too big. It is 12 inches wide, 10 inches tall, and 4 inches deep. It doesn't have a lot of materials that we need to get. So I like this because it's not like hardware hungry. Now we are going to be installing grommets. That is the one thing that we're going to need a little bit of, but I kind of like when it's not super like hardware, a bag that needs a lot of hardware because it's more cost efficient. But one thing I wanted to talk about in this pattern is on page 4. I love the fact that she has a shorter strap drop length. So if you are a person that is taller or shorter, there is a shorter strap in here. And if you want a longer or shorter strap, she gives you what a drop length is. So that way it can be, you can customize this shorter strap that to your height. So she gives you ranges from 4'11" all the way to 6'1". And I haven't seen any designer have done this, and there might be designers that have done this, and I just have not seen this in written instructions before. And if so, I apologize in advance, but I really appreciate the fact that Sandeep did do this. So if you are someone that struggles because you're on the shorter end or the taller end and you want to have a shorter strap that suits you, page 4 might be something that you definitely want to look into. The seam allowance throughout this pattern is 3/8 of an inch unless it's told otherwise, okay? So she also gives you some different stitch length depending on the materials that you do use on here, and I really appreciate that as well, okay? So there are the material lists that are on page 6. And she also gives you some information about top stitching without back stitching and pulling threads to the back. And if you want to, you could definitely look through pages 8 and 9, and you can get some inspiration from the tester photos. And one of my favorite things is the bag anatomy. That's one of my favorite things, so that way you can kind of map out what you want to do with the bag and what kind of materials you want to use. Okay. Preparation is key to any bag, so definitely pay attention to that. How to fuse stabilizers and where you need to have extra stabilization just in case. Please read over the pattern before you start any project. I think it's like key. I know we say it every time we like do a tutorial, but sometimes I think people just skim over it, and then when they're not successful with their bag, they're wondering why. And this is one of the key moments that you really want to just stop, read, and even follow along if you're watching a tutorial and write notes. Okay. And so let's get this started. So on page 15, there are some drawstring tabs that you are going to do, and some other pieces that if you do, that you can edge paint. So this is the drawstring. You're going to put the two pieces together and you're going to sew all the way around, and then you can edge paint if you wish. You don't have to. It does give it a nice professional finish. She does give you a list of pattern pieces that you can edge paint, and it's on the following page, on page 16. So let's go on page 16 and let's work on to the next piece, which the next piece is going to be the bag bottom, which is piece G. Piece G has the hole punches, and we're going to be doing some measuring. So you're going to draw in 5/8 of an inch seam allowance all the way around, and we're going to do some top stitching. So what I did is I took my ruler and I used a silver marking pen. You can use chalk, whatever is easier for you. And I drew 5/8" box all the way around. And then I curved around the edges. What I used for the curve is actually the stabilizer pattern piece. And I used that to help me curve around the edges. Now I'm going to sew around to help keep the stabilizer piece intact. And I'm going to keep long threads because I'm going to pull them through the back. I start on a straight edge because it's easier to match. I'm using 70 weight thread. And of course, my thread wants to act up. Sometimes that happens. I should have did like a test swatch first. Let's see. Right. The goal is try to get into the whole previous, so that right next to it, so that way you can, when you pull the threads, they both can come out right by each other. So I'm going to pull my bobbin thread. I'm using my stiletto. And when I pull my bobbin thread, it's going to pull the thread from the top thread back. I'm going to take these threads and I'm just going to tie them off in a knot. I try to tie them off in a knot like that, or 3 to 4 knots. And I'm going to singe them. And then I'm going to take an eraser of sorts. You can use water, whatever you have to do to get the silver marking pen off, or your chalk off, whatever you need to do. I try to remove the silver marking pen as fast as possible because sometimes it depends on the vinyl. Some vinyl like easily wipes off, some doesn't. It all depends. And I'm going to get my purse feet. There's 5 purse feet. And I'm going to get the washers. Okay. I'm going to feed the purse feet in the holes. Make sure you punch your holes. The pattern piece has the measurements and the placements for the purse feet. And I am going to stick my stiletto in between the bag feet, and you can install your bag feet however your hardware tells you to do, because some are, rivets, some are screws, however your bag tells you to do it, the hardware tells you to do. I like numerous different ways. I think my favorite are like the rivets, but I have a lot of prongs, and I'm a person that tells you to use what you have so you don't waste. And let's see if I have one more washer. Just going to use this bigger washer real quick. All right. And you can use whatever method you can to put over here. If you use tape, foam, whatever you have available to you, you can use. Normally I use foam, but apparently my foam is MIA. So we're going to take this and put this onto the side real quick. And we're going to grab our connectors. We're going to take our connectors, which is piece F, and we're going to sew 1/8 of an inch down each side. We're going to fold the long edges towards each other. They're going to meet and touch. I'm throwing my I'm just going to roll these out. This is the closest I can get to an iron. And we're going to sew 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Okay, and just remember to back stitch at the beginning and at the end. And we're going to do that again for the other connector. Okay. So we have that for both connectors. And then we're going to make some markings. So I'm going to get my silver marking pen, and we're going to make a mark that is on one end, 1 1/8 of an inch up. So I'm going to do that on the other. And on the other short end, we're going to do it 1/2 inch up. So from here, we're going to grab a hole punch. I'm going to grab mine real quick. And we're just going to punch a hole. On those marks. right. For right now, we're just going to take these and we're going to put them aside. If you want to edge paint on the side that has the 1/2 inch, go for it. All right, we're going to be working on right now the drawstring. We're going to take the drawstring and you can draw a center mark if you wish. Everyone's a little bit different on here. I noticed some people definitely need the center mark. Some people can eyeball it. It's all personal preference. There's no right or wrong answer on there. It's do whatever makes you happy. There are measurements in the cut list if you're going to do a drawstring that has knots at the end or a drawstring that's going to have drawstring ends. If you're going to have used hardware, it's a little bit shorter than if you're going to have knots. So it's, again, personal preference. Sometimes I like the way the knots look if you're doing a bag that is going to have a little bit more rustic appeal. If you're going to do a little bit of a bag that has like a very super classy fabric, I like the way the hardware looks. Again, it's all what you think will look best. We're going to put the long ends and fold them in on each other, leaving a 1/8 of an inch gap, or at least a 1/16. This has to fold in on itself. All right, then we're going to fold this over on itself, and we're going to stitch down the end that is opening, and you're going to want to back stitch at the beginning and then at the end. You could definitely clip or do whatever is easier for you. I like to take little short steps and just make sure that it's folded over and that the edges are evenly like distributed on to each other, and one side's not like a little bit overlapping each other. It's my weird method. I don't know why I like to do it that way. And then back stitch at the end. And now we have our drawstring. All right, we're going to just roll that up and put that to the side. We don't need it for right now. We're going to now grab our handle and start getting prepared for that. So for our handle, you're going to need some scraps. There's some really great stabilization pieces on here. There's some really great stabilization pieces on here. On this piece, you're going to need to grab your handle, and on the wrong side of the handle, you need to measure up 7 3/4 of an inch. I from there, just drew a line, okay? And from that line, I drew in 5/8 of an inch on each side. From there, I grabbed a scrap and put some double-sided tape on a piece of scrap and just laid a piece of scrap fabric right there on the center. Okay, you do that on all 4 sides of all 4 sides. So when I say all 4 sides, you have 2 straps. So there's going to be 2 sides to each straps. So there's 4 sides in total, 4 parts of the straps. Okay. Once you have that, you're going to then put double-sided tape down the center. You can either put it down the center, or you could put 1/8 of an inch on each side and fold it over. I ran out of double-sided 1/8 of a double-sided tape yesterday, and yeah, I have a way-whack order on the way, but until then, I'm going to use what I got. If you've been around my channel long enough, you know I'm a person that tells you waste not, want not, and use what you got. So we're going to fold this in on itself. I really like this method of the stabilizer, or the piece of scrap right here. I feel like we're learning something new, and Sandeep is giving us a different part of an education that we don't normally do in our regular practice. And for that, I really appreciate it. That's why I love learning new patterns, because you get to elevate your bag education each time. So from here, we're going to take our strap, and we're going to sew 3/8 of an inch from on both sides. So on one side and then the other. So I'm going to back stitch at the beginning and at the end. This stabilization is going to set us up that when we have to put rivets in this strap, it has an extra piece of stabilizer already built into the strap, so that way when and if you or someone that you care about, or someone that you sold this bag to, tugs on that handle, there's extra stabilization there, and I love that. I'm gonna pop over 2 stitches and I'm gonna now sew 3/8 of an inch down the other side. All right. All right. So now we have that. We're going to now, on this, I'm going to do this on the right side. You can do this with chalk or a silver pen, whatever you see is fit. I'm going to draw 9.5 inch line on each side of the handle, just making sure I have it nice and straight. And I'm going to fold where that 9.5 inch mark is. I'm going to grab some clips. Just some clips, a few clips, and fold over. We're kind of making a little bit of a rolled handle. And we're going to kind of sew at that line, go backstitch, go down, and sew 1/8 of an inch all down this fold, and go back up to that line, the following line, go up and then backstitch. Okay. So I'm going to kind of feed it in to where the part that's folded backstitch well. Just take my time. And sew. All the way until that next silver mark. And then sew up and backstitch. All right, I'm going to remove that silver marker. All right, and I have my nice folded rolled handle. Nice. I like that. And we have that. And you're going to do that to the other handle as well. Okay, so we'll have two. All right, so now we're going to grab our shoulder strap. On a shoulder strap, you have the measurement that you did, like I told you in the beginning of the video. You could base your shoulder strap off of your height on page 4, and then you cut out the measurements. If you want the standard one in the cut chart, she gives you what the standard measurements are. Then there are 3 pieces. You're going to have the 3/4 of an inch piece that's going to be the main body, and then there is another, the 3/4 of an inch piece is the one that's going to be the main piece. That's going to be 1.5 inches wide, off of however you feel is tall, based off of your height or whatever the standard cut is in the cut chart. And then you have a center body piece that has been interfaced with Decoville Light, which again, I love how this is going. Then we're going to center the middle piece in here. You can use double-sided tape, glue, however you wish, and we're going to fold over your the long edges now onto the middle part of the strap. Okay. I really like this strap because it kind of gives you like a peekaboo color inside when the strap is bent, but it has structure because you have the Decoville Light as a stabilizer in the inside. All right. I'm going to give this a good roll real quick to get that double-sided tape really adhering. All right. So once we have the double-sided tape adhering to it, we're going to mosey on over to page 19, and we're going to top stitch this at 1/8 of an inch down each side. Back stitch well at the beginning and the end. Okay. Okay, and you back stitch well at the beginning and the end. All right, this is the part where you can edge paint, and again, you can edge paint the strap-ins if you want, the inside of the strap, as well as you can edge paint your zipper overlay, your drawstring connector, and the short ends of your shoulder straps. So these are the things that you can edge paint if you wish to have these things done. And you can edge paint and they can be a little bit more cohesive if you wish to have that. Okay, that's what's shown on page 16. And again, if you're going to edge paint the connectors, paint only the top edge, and that's the one that's closest to, that is the 1/2 inch punch. Right? And she gives you some tips on base coats and edge painting on page 20. I am not going to do that, but I'm going to start setting up to get this done, my connectors done. So what we're going to do is we're going to make some markings. We're going to punch a hole at, we're going to get things set up at, draw a dot at 1/4 of an inch and 1.5 inch. Okay. And do that on the other end. Okay. And I'm going to get my hole punch. And I'm going to punch the holes. All right, I'm going to grab my swivel hooks and I'm going to grab some rivets. And I'm going to take these and I'm going to put my swivel hook on here. Feed my rivet through. And just set these. Sorry, I'm trying to singe those extra little rogue threads. And I'm going to set these with my rivet press. And when I set them, I should just feel like the rivet go down like twice and they should be ready to go. And just like that, my shoulder strap is ready to go. All right, now it's time to start getting to the meat and potatoes of the bag. All right, so we're going to get our exterior pocket C. So right here on pocket C, the exterior, this is a good place to put your metal logo tag if you have one. Or if you don't have a metal logo one, and let's say you have a cork or a fabric one, you can sew it in place. I have a Star Wars magnet that I'm using as a logo. I just wanted to show you that it doesn't have to be just the regular like logo thing. You can do whatever you wish. So we're going to take you're going to take piece C and piece D, and you're going to draw 3/4 of an inch lines on the wrong sides, and take double-sided tape, and we're going to fold over to the line that we just drew, the 3/4 of an inch. All right. Then we're going to place them together. Now, when we place them together, we're going to bump the lining down 1/16 of an inch, because we don't want the lining to be like right on top of each other, because there might be a chance that you see the lining peek through. So we want to bump it down like 1/16 of an inch so that the lining doesn't peek through. And we're going to top stitch this at 1/8 of an inch. And then we're going to just base the rest of it at 1/8 of an inch as well. Okay. All right, so any lining that's poking through, trim it up on the bottom. I'm just going to find my center mark right here. Just draw a little line. Find my center mark down here. Draw a little line. And this is going to be now my pattern piece C. You're going to do this with the other center mark C, and then you're also going to do this with your pattern piece D. Okay, so they look exactly alike. All 4 of them will be alike. Okay. So now we're going to grab pattern piece A. And pattern piece A, when you cut it out, it had these placement marks, okay? That it told you to cut out and draw these placements. So if you haven't done that already, pause the video, cut out those placement marks, and draw them. You can draw them in chalk, you can do them in silver pen, whatever you can remove, okay? From there, we're going to we're going to do a few things. We're going to grab a ruler that I just had. There it is. And we're going to draw a 5-inch line from the bottom. And you can see this 5-inch line on figure E on page 22. Five inches from the bottom. All right. And from there, we're going to match notch to notch and just draw a small little line to find the center. So there's a notch here and a notch there, a notch here, a notch there. And these are all placements on that pattern piece A. Okay. From here, I'm going to grab some just tape. This is like Scotch tape, painter's tape, whatever tape you have that's not permanent, that's easy to pill up. This is where this is going to shine. I'm going to grab my center pocket and I'm going to match right up at that 5-inch line, the top of this. And I'm going to grab some of this painter's tape and tape this here on the line and here at this line. I'm going to now make sure that everything is aligned and I'm going to base this in place. When I say the base this in place, you're still going to backstitch. You're going to do 1/8 of an inch, backstitch, go up, across. You're going to go down, across, and up. Okay? So I'm moving things out of my way. All right. I'm just going to put this tape here because I'm going to reuse it. All right, and then I'm going to put these sides and you can center them if you wish. It can help to find your centers. Because you're going to want to try to line up this line and that's not the case. This is your center. So you're going to want to line up this center with this center because your strap's going right here. And you're going to line up this 5-inch with this mark here. So we're going to go see how this doesn't. It's so easy to try to line up this with this. Like it makes sense in your brain. You're trying to line up those lines, but that's why these center marks are there. So again, we're going to go down. Across. And up. All right. And we're going to do this again. Mine is hard to find the center because I have like badges, but yours should be easier than mine. Find the center mark, line that bad boy up. And then we're going to do it again. All right. You're going to do this same thing to pattern piece B. You're going to find the 5-inch mark. You're going to find your center, and you're going to put the center pattern piece, this one, that had another center, on pattern piece B. Okay. From here, we're going to start getting some double-sided tape. We are going to measure up 6.5 inches on the wrong side. We're going to measure on the wrong side at first, and we're going to put some double-sided tape on the wrong side of the handles. So you're going to do that to all 4 parts of the handles. So you have 2 handles. There's 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 parts of the handles. Okay. So I'm going to work with 2 right now. 1 handle, 2 parts. And we want the handle to face, to make sure that you have the handle facing the right way. So you want the pretty sides facing here. You want the back of this facing the back towards this. The bobbin of is the underneath. You shouldn't have your handle all twisted out. You want it the wrong sides of the fabric, the wrong sides of the handle to be on the right sides of the fabric. So we're going to remove the double-sided tape, and we're going to match, we're going to align the handle to the markings that we have placed on pattern piece A. right? You just want to make sure everything aligns right. That's the beauty of double-sided tape, is you can untape it, retape it. All right. You want to mark on the right side of this. You're going to mark 6.5 inches. Now this part is really important, and I highlighted it on here. We're not going to go up, across, and down. We're only going up and pulling threads. We're not doing a box. We're not doing a box. We're going up. We're back stitching here. We're going up, having long tails, and we're pulling threads. We're going up, having long tails, and pulling threads. And we're going to do that on this other side too. So back stitch at the end, at the start, but not at the end. And so just pull that bobbin. Oops, that's a rogue thread. Pull that bobbin. And tie it off. And we're going to do that again. I need to probably check my bobbin after this, because normally when my bobbin sounds like this, it means I need to check it. And this is a good point to check your bobbin. You don't want to like run out of bobbin in the middle of doing this. I will check my bobbin and I'll be right back. I was so close, like so close. Okay. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to attach the pattern piece B to pattern piece A, so we can make the second part of the handle and make this tubular. So we're going to connect these two pieces. Get these rogue threads, and we're going to sew them with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay. We're going to open up these seams. You can use double-sided tape, or if your material's thin enough, you can probably just kind of pancake it onto your machine. I'm just going to separate it and lay it flat on my machine. And you're going to top stitch it at 1/8 of an inch on both sides. right? And then we're going to I should have definitely pressed that a little bit more. So this at 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to clip this together. And you know what? We should have, hold on. I made this a little bit harder. Give me 1 second. I'm going to remove these stitches. Do as I say, not as I do kind of scenario here. Why this is open. Why this is open, we're going to make a mark a 1/2 inch from the seam on each side. And we're going to do one part of the handle so that we only have to do the other one part of the handle in the hoop, so that it's a little bit easier for us to navigate. So we're going to do, I'm going to draw the 6.5 inch mark on each side here. And I'm going to do the 6.5 mark here. We're just trying to make it a little bit easier for us. So that way you won't, because we're going to have to sew this side inside the tube. So let's make it a little bit easier for us. And only have to sew one part in the tube. So again, back stitch at the beginning, long tails at the end. Okay. And then we're going to do one more row on the other side. Get those rogue threads on the bottom. Back stitch the beginning, long tails at the end. Okay. And we're going to now close this tube. All right, and I'm going to put double-sided tape on this seam because we have a lot of weight working with us. We're having the whole tube, as well as we have handles in here. So I'm going to use double-sided tape to help keep this seam open. Because we're going to sew 1/8 of an inch on the seam. Then we're going to draw a 1/2 inch on each side of the seam to create the handle mark. Then we're going to put the handle in there and do the same thing. We're going to leave long tails at the end. All right. And this is not that big of a tube, so it's not that hard to work with. Make sure you back stitch because we're just doing the side seams. I'm just gonna pop a little. And we're going to go down the other side. Get those rope threads. Okay. All right. So we're going to draw. I'm going to just turn this out real quick. Because it's so soft and so pliable. I'm going to just draw a 1/2 inch from each seam. If you have like a 1-inch ruler that you can stick right on there, it will make your life a little bit easier. And then I'm going to put this right here. Turn this back inside out. And again, back stitch at the end, long tails at the beginning, and we're just going to do it from inside. And it's not that big of a deal. So we have, oh, that is some sticky tape. Okay, we only have to go like this. See? That's it. Whoop, whoop. That's it. You can make the sound effects. I approve. Let's go. Long tails. Some rogue tails at the bottom. You could probably pull out all the tails all at once. I won't, and hear me out on this. The reason why I won't is because I will get my tails intertwined, and then I will sit there and cry as I'm trying to untie a knot. Your girl can't untie a knot to save her life. Then I'm going to be calling on the husband, kids, possibly my dog. I don't know. All right. Long tails. We did it, guys. We did this. We should feel like proud. We should sing "We Are the Champions" together. I mean, we did it. Yeah, I go overboard with the knots, but I always imagine the person who's carrying my bag is me, and yeah, I'm hard. All right, I'm back. So we got this part. So now we are gonna grab the top exterior and bottom exterior panels. Now, one of the exterior panels has like the punches for the grommets, and they have markings. So just make sure when you're sewing these together that you have them going in the right directions. So I like to just clip them. All right, so with the exterior top bottom panel, there's a top panel and a bottom panel. On the top bottom, on the top bottom, on the top panel, you have the ones that have the grommet drawings. You need to do this one, sew this one up separately, differently than the bottom panel. On the top panel, you need to you need to match up the lines that you created in the preparation. And you need to sew this up differently. You're going to sew it up with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, but you're going to sew it 3/8. You're going to back stitch, sew it to that 1 inch mark, back stitch, leave that space because that's where the rivet's going to go, and then back stitch and sew down. You're going to leave there that small opening that you had in the beginning in the preparation. So make sure you do the preparation to the part that has the rivet, not the rivet, the grommet opening on pattern piece E, exterior top panel. So I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to show you what the stitching looks like. After you see me do this, I'm going to be sewing, and you're going to see me sew 2 sets of these, and it's going to look wrong. And there's a reason, because I messed up and I had to go back and redo this. And I just wanted to add this in before you guys messed up and you watched it. So you have the stitching, and you have the small opening. And you have that opening so that when this gets sewn down, there's a small hole for your rivet. I'm going to do that again on this side. Make sure you back stitch well, or it's all for naught. All right, so now we're going to top stitch this 1/8 of an inch down the side seams. and you still have that hole for your rivet. See? And it's backstitched so that way you're good. So just make sure, like I said in the beginning, prep work is everything, and paying attention to the pattern. So when you see me in the next step sewing the top and the bottom panel, just remember it's just the bottom panel that you're going to be copying me in the next step. And I know people in the back are going to be like, wait, what are you doing? Just pay attention. The next scene again is just the bottom panel that you're going to do this to. The top panel I'm doing right now. Okay? All right. In place automatically. If I have them automatically clipped into the place, then all is well and I did everything okay. So I'm just going to clip those. All right. So we're going to sew these together at a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Back stitch at the beginning and at the end. Kind of bend these so that way I can do it like a chain. All right. And then we're going to press the seams open, and we're going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch the seams open. I'm back stitching at every seam. All right. All right. And we're going to be taping down these handles so that way they kind of stay in a good space. This is just paper tape. You can use whatever tape you feel is good. I like painter's tape because you can get it like at a hardware store like Lowe's or Home Depot for relatively inexpensive, and you don't feel bad when you're throwing it away. So we're going to find our centers. So I'm going to put sides with sides. And just do little notches. And I'm going to make sure that my machine has all the goop off of it. And we're going to put the bottom on first. And we're going to put sides with sides. So put the side seams on first. Right side's touching. So the side seams are not going where the handles are. Don't you love it when something is like cylinder and it just fits? Like, you're like, yeah, everything fits good. All right, so we're gonna sew this with a 3/8 of an inch. All right. Trim off the rogue threads. And then I'm going to pull the seam of the pattern down. Hold on 1 second. And pull this down. So we're going to pull this down and we're going to top stitch from the inside 1/8 of an inch right here, right on the top. Okay, let's see. Yeah, 1/8 of an inch top stitch away from the seam. I'm going to start because I'm going to back stitch in a seam. I like to do that. I like to back stitch in a seam so that way no one sees a back stitch. Let's see. Oh, sorry, we were supposed to leave long tails. Okay, I'll leave long tails when we put the top one in so we can pull the tails to the back. okay, I put this in wrong. The top one, I have to remove the stitches, and I'm going to explain why. The top one, you're supposed to leave a hole. I got overzealous. Let me explain. Hold on. Okay, so I went back and I had to re-record. So the top panel has the small opening that you sewed down, but you had a small opening for your rivet. Okay, so we're going to put this on here. So I'm just gonna do this. Before we put the top exterior on, we're going to sandwich our side connector on the side piece. So we're our side notches, and we're going to put it in, we're going to base it in on 1/4 of an inch. Now you want to make sure you base this connector in on the side that you didn't edge paint. And now if you didn't edge paint, let me give you the nitty gritty. You have one hole punch that is at 1 1/4 of an inch, no, 1 1/8 of an inch, and another one that is at a 1/2 inch. The side that you were supposed to edge paint was at the 1/2 inch. You're going to base this on at the 1 1/8 of an inch. You're going to feed it in. You're going to base this on right here. And you're going to base this on at 1/8 of an inch. And this is going to be sandwiched in between the top, your pattern piece A, and your top, I cannot talk today, your pattern piece A and pattern piece, I just had it. I'm sorry. Pattern piece A and exterior top panel. I said that earlier. And you're going to do it right flush right on top of each other. This is going to be, that's going to be the thing that holds your D-ring, your rectangle ring, or your O-ring, whatever you have. And you're going to base that on at 1/4 of an inch. And then it's going to be sewn on at 3/8 of an inch once we do that final top stitch. And again, we need to find our centers. So we're going to match up seams. Try to match up my seam as best as I can. When I can't, it drives me a little kooky. But it happens. Get as close as you can. Creating notches. All right. We're going to go for the top. And again, we're doing right sides together. Sides to side. I like to do all my center points first. I'm just going to move my tape down. The tape was there to hold the handles in place while we were putting the bottom down, so that way we didn't accidentally, you know, sew over a handle. All right, so we're going to sew this around at 3/8 of an inch, okay? Back stitch at the beginning and the end. And make sure that you have this top panel on right, you want to make sure that your the 3/4 of an inch line that you drew for the top is at the top. Like, you don't want this line to be connected to the bottom. So this is a drop-in lining, and in the prep work you drew 3/4 of an inch. You want to make sure that part is not being connected to the bag. So everything can line up nicely. You want and that way the hole that you created in the prep work too fits and everything. All right, I'm going to trim off these rogue threads. And we're going to pull this up. And we're going to want to get long tails. And we're going to sew with a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. You want your seam to go all the way up. And just take your time with this top stitching. You want it to be consistent. That's my best advice. You don't want your stitching to be everywhere. You want it to be consistent. It's not a very big loop, so just take your time. Don't forget to breathe and focus on something, whether it's like the inside of the foot, the line that you're following. Just focus on one thing. Focus 1 inch at a time. And just make sure you keep your seam allowance up. And because there's not a lot of interface in here, there's really none except in certain parts, but it's completely out of the seam allowance. This should be a nice, soft, easy sew. This bag could be done on a domestic, a semi-domestic, an industrial. It all depends on your materials. You know your machine. You can gauge what materials work best. In the testing group, it looks like there are so many different materials, from canvas to faux leathers. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think someone had it done in leather. So just gauge your machine and what works for you. We're getting close to where the other thread is, so okay, long tails. We're going to pull our threads to the back. And let's see. Pull one thread. And let's see. pull this other one. And we're going to pull those threads and tie them off. And you can put like glue on the back of these if you wish, so that way it can just stay in place. Like any kind of glue that you have available just to help it lock into place, or you can cinch it with, depending on the thread. So we did that. We're gonna turn this right sides out real quick, and we're gonna get some double-sided tape. Remove this. Remove this silver pin. Okay. All right. So from there, we're gonna get some double-sided tape, and we're going to put some right in here. We are going to finish off sewing the handles down. We're going to move the double-sided tape paper if it wants to, and we're going to press it down. We're going to go in here, do long tails. We're going to go up across here. We're going to try to match up the 1/8 of an inch stitching that we have across here. Go across and then go back down with leaving long threads, and pull the threads to the back. Now we're going to be doing this from inside the bag. It's not that, the bag is closer now to the top, so we should be able to do it. It's going to just take a little bit more time and patience. So just get your favorite music or listen to your favorite podcast and make sure your bobbin's full, and just patience is a virtue for this one. And when it's done, you're gonna be super happy with it. So what you want to do is, draw a line, and this is where your new line's going to be. Draw your line where your stitches is, and that's where you want to start focusing at. So we're going to start and stop and pull threads to the back. So I'm just going to kind of squish this bag and do one side at a time, because it's so pliable that you don't really have to turn it inside out. You can just do one side at a time. Let me get longer threads. And I'm going to put the needle into the previous hole and go needle down all the way until it's about to rise up, and then go from there. And I'm going to show you pulling my threads back. And I'll show you what it looks like. And then I'll do the other 3 off camera real quick and then come back and we'll put the base together. Or believe it or not, we're almost to the finish line because once we put the lining in, I feel like the lining comes together pretty quickly. We're going to be then putting the bags, you know, together and then putting the grommets in. And before you know it, this bag is done. Okay. And this gives a really neat finish to the bag. And see, this is it incomplete where it's floppy. There's not the complete stitches, and that's with the complete. It's pretty cool. And it does take a little bit of patience. Practice makes progression, but you got this. So you put your needle in. You're going to want to take your needle and kind of stick it in the previous hole. Have long threads. Go up, across, and down. Have long threads and pull it down. And I'm going to do the next 3. And then the next part, we're going to be putting in the base. Okay, so let's get this bottom of the bag done. We're going to match up our center points. Because there's not a lot of interfacing in the bag itself, it should go easily, but there is a lot of room to make little snips. So what I like to do is I like to clip all the straight areas first. And then go. And everyone, this is the thing. The bottoms of the bags are always interesting to me because it all depends on your materials. Some fabrics are a little bit more stretchy than others. Some materials, they have no give. So you might have to do some snips. The bottom of my material, there is a lot of stretch. And it's because it's a Mora. I find Moras to be a little bit more forgiving than other fabrics. But if you have you're working with a thicker vinyl, you might have to snip in the corners a little bit. The seam allowance is 3/8 of an inch, so do not snip more into this area, into the gusset area, more than 1/4 of an inch. And you would just do tiny baby snips all around there. It all depends on the vinyl. Some vinyls, are really stretchy. Some are really stiff. It's kind of like cotton woven. Some cotton woven, even if you interface it with Shapeflex 101, that bad boy is not moving. Then you have others that it stretches like it's on the bias, and you're just like, what is going on? I interfaced this. All right. We are going to then sew this with a 3/8 of an inch. Now, okay, she says you can staple. I'm not a stapler. You can definitely staple if you wish. I am not a stapler. I don't like removing staples. I'm just not a stapler. By all means, definitely do that if that's your bag. But that's just not me. I will staple if the bag absolutely needs it. And if your fabric is like moving around a lot, then by all means, I say go for it. But if you can clip it, go for that too. Stapling it though does assure that none of your bag pieces will move, and that I can attest to. You have better security with staples than you do with clips. So there's pros and cons to everything. Just keep that in mind. Trying to move the bag out of the way as I go around corners. I'm using a stiletto as I go around the corners to go in places I don't want my fingers to go. All right. So we got that. We're going to then, you remove your staples, and then you're going to snip in the corners. You can definitely do, remove the staples, and you're going to clip in the corners. I'm going to just kind of pink in the corners because I don't want excess bulk. I'm just not doing too much in the seam allowance, just around the rounded areas. And I am going to then grab some excess fabric, kind of like similar to what we did earlier. We're going to get some double-sided tape. Again, this bag is very hyper aware of stabilization, and I love this because it's like guaranteeing that your bag is going to have longevity. We're just going to place this over here onto where the hole is. And what you can do right now is where that is, you can just punch a hole through it. Just making sure that area or you can put like a seam ripper. So that way when you put your rivet through it, it can go through it. But just making sure that area where you put the fabric goes through just fine. And you're going to turn this right sides out. And I'm going to put some I should have put double-sided tape already over here, but I'm going to do it now. I'm going to put double-sided tape right at the top. It's easier to do this when it's wrong sides out. And I'm going to remove the double-sided tape on this side, and I'm going to start folding this over on the 3/4 of an inch line that we drew in the prep work. And on the seams, I like to put a clamp just so that way it can start getting a little compressions like now. And you can put a couple of clips just to hold it in place. And you can really start seeing your bag start forming. And we're going to grab our connectors. Not your connector. Okay, so make sure that this is sliced for your connector. If you don't have it, you can kind of see in a not pattern piece, on page 30 on figure K, she kind of has like where you can either use a seam ripper or some kind of awl where you can slice. If you don't, it's not that big of a deal. We can hole punch it, or you can do like kind of like an X-Acto knife. Like I had an X-Acto knife. An X-Acto knife where you can just slice that just little opening, so that way it's a little bit easier for you at the last step. Okay, now we're going to get into the lining. Okay, so let's go over the lining and we go from there. But you also can clean up all your chalk marks, all your clean up all your chalk marks, not on your do not clean up all your chalk marks on your like on your where your grommets are. I can use my words, Shinova. You not where your grommets are. We need that to punch the holes, okay? All right, so we're on the lining part. We're on page 31. We are going to be putting the zipper pocket overlay on. You need to move this down 1 3/4 of an inch down. We're going to put our overlay on. So you're going to take your thread and you're going to start sewing. And whenever you have to change your position, just make sure that your needle is down. If you don't have a needle synchronizer, I don't have one on this machine, so whenever I stop, I just put my needle in the needle down position, and I push all the way down until I feel the needle trying to go back up. And if I feel like an area is too tight, I'll hand crank. Long threads. And I'm going to pull the threads to the back. You can not do that if you wish and backstitch. I prefer back stitching, but some people like to have the threads going pulled to the back. And we'll try to pull this one back. I think I got it. Let's see. Nope. I got it. Okay, and from here, after I pull the threads to the back, I'm going to tie them off. And then I'm going to cut the center of this out, and we're going to start installing the zipper pocket. These are a little bulky, so all right. I'm going to take my zipper. I put double-sided tape on the front and the back. And I'm going to center this the best way I can. And move the zipper pull. I like my zipper pull closing to the left, but this one I had it closing to the right. There's no wrong or right way to have your zipper closing. I have people that are left-handed that like to have it closing to the right and vice versa. I have some people that are left and right that like it closing in different directions because they feel like it can divert people from going inside their pockets. There's no wrong or right answer to this. It's whatever you like and whatever the person that you're making it for likes. And we're going to get pocket piece M, which is the zip lining. And we're going to take off the lower piece of the zipper tape, the tape, the double-sided tape, and we're going to sew across the bottom part here. Now you could have long tails and pull them to the back. I'm going to back stitch. I'm really rough on bags and zippers, so I like having that little extra oomph, knowing the fact that there's some back stitching. But when I get to the zipper, I'm going to move the zipper out of the way. All right. You can pull the threads just like we have done throughout this whole pattern. And I'm going to get some double-sided tape and put it right underneath here. So that way the pocket can lay nice and flat. Like it shows you on figure E on page 32. And we're going to bring that up here. Then we're going to go up, across, and down. I'm going to back stitch. I'm going to go into the previous hole. I'm going to put it in the hole, go all the way down till I feel the needle going up. And I like to back stitch over my zipper teeth. I'm going to put my needle in needle down position. Move my zipper. Ooh, my machine does not like this zipper tape. This way whack tape at all. There's a few skip a stitches. Sometimes it depends on if the double-sided tape is gonna act up or not. But it's cool. If it does, then I know I just need to go over that section one time with filling, and then I'll hand crank. If it, oh, okay, cool. It acted good the second time. We're gonna pretend the first time didn't count. All right. So then we're going to pull this aside, and we're going to close off the pocket. Ooh, that double-sided tape is sticking. I ran out of 1/8 of an inch. It's supposed to be delivered today, but it just didn't come in time. All right, so we have one. All right, let's get into this slip pocket. So we're going to get your slip pocket. You're going to measure 1 inch on each of the long sides. And then you're going to get some double-sided tape or an iron. And you're going to put that in. Fold it in on itself. Okay, once you have that, I'm just going to base this in place. right. Then I'm going to get the slip pocket trim. And I'm going to put this on here. Again, man. Oh, do you see how sticky that is? All right. So we're just gonna trim this excess off. And we're going to sew this trim together. We're going to sew it down at 1/8 of an inch. Backstitch well. Ooh, I'm glad I have a Teflon foot on. I think I'm at like a 3.5. All right. All right. We got that. This now goes on it's 1/8 of an inch from the raw edge. This now goes on at 1.5 inches from the bottom. I find it easier to draw a line in chalk and then just pin it in place. And I pin it in place even if this is cotton and this is water resistant canvas. So I'm not going to sew on this part. I'm only going to sew on the cotton and then I'm going to punch holes. And okay. I'm sewing 1/8 of an inch around. Okay. Back stitching really well. All right, and let me get some rivets real quick and punch holes in this, and then we can go on to the next part. You're going to want to get some washers for the back because you don't want the rivets to just come out. So you can get, if you have scraps of like Decoville or Craft Tex or something, anything will kind of work. Let's see. I'll show you what it looks like. I'm going to set this. Let's see. I'm trying to find you a rivet. All right. Let's see. So you have your 2 rivets, and then you're going to put washers on the back. So you can put Decovil Light, Craft Tex, or whatever you have handy available. So that way when someone puts something in here, it doesn't just rip off. And that's important. All right. So we have these 2 pieces ready to go. Then the next 2 pieces you have are the magnets. Placement, not the magnet, panel piece I, the interior top. So you have a line that you're supposed to draw that is 3/4 of an inch down. And then you have the magnet placements, okay? So for the magnet placements, you need to draw where the magnets go. Do that. But this is Mora, and Mora is like kind of a flimsy material again. So if you have like any kind of materials that can go with it, like if you have some stabilizer or anything that can go with it, just so that way it can, you know, can have extra stabilization, will be nice. So I'm gonna go get an X-Acto knife, and I'm getting the washers. I'm gonna get the magnets, and I always try to keep like scraps of stabilizers by me. Sometimes it works out better than others. Okay, and I'm going to cut slices in here. And remember, you don't want the slices to be huge, because the prongs are not very big. Okay. And again, it all depends on your material. Some material is more forgiving and some stretchy, and some is more thicker. I actually like way thicker material for this part than what I'm using. All right. So we have that. So you want to find your center. Which would have been probably easier before you put the magnet in. Hindsight, right? And just keep in mind that the top part is where you see the 3/4 inch of line is at its lower, you know, like at the higher point. And you're going to want to start putting these on. Everything should really match if you cut everything out for the pattern and did all the, like, cut everything out for the pattern directions. And again, you don't want to be sewing down the 3/4 of an inch. You're going to be sewing down this, and it's going to be at 3/8 of an inch. Back stitch well, beginning and the end. Knocked down over something. Okay. And then you're going to want to have a seam allowance go onto the underneath the lining, and then you're going to want to top stitch that at 1/8 of an inch. And you, of course, can put some double-sided tape or something to go over your magnet. We're going to want to do the same thing over here. Tuck your seam allowance underneath your lining. Get those rope threads. And that's all right. So now what we're going to want to do is we are going to want to put these two right sides together. But we're going to want to sew this at 3/8 of an inch. But we're going to want to start and stop at these marks so we can have a hole for our rivets, okay? So line these up. So we're going to start at 3/8 of an inch, back stitch, stop, back stitch, and start. So just make sure you're paying attention to these start and stop, that 1 inch down and that 1 1/4 of an inch down. So the lines that you drew end. So you have a 3/4 of an inch line, you have a 1 inch line and a 1 1/4. So the 1 inch and the 1 1/4 inch, that's what you need to be focused on at this point. And make sure you back stitch well. I'm just going to pick up my threads and move it. Okay. And I'm just going to trim those threads. So like those, oh, the magnet's strong. So when you see I'm going to show you there's still a hole for the rivet. I'm going to do it again on this side, leaving that gap. Eighth of an inch. And then I'm going to back stitch and then back stitch again because we're leaving that hole for that rivet. And I'm just going to back stitch one more time over this area going into it. So you just want to make sure you have this hole over here. And when you open this up over here, you have this hole. Okay? And I just want to make sure this is exactly 3/8 because it looks a little scant. Yeah, that's better. All right. So what we're going to do next is we're going to open up this seam and tape it so the seam is open. We're going to kind of snip into the seams right underneath where the vinyl is, and about 3/4 of an inch down. And it looks like we're pressing this open, and if you're not pressing it, you're kind of butterflying it open with double-sided tape. This is interesting. Let's all right, we have one seam down. And we're going to do that on the other side. This is pretty cool. All right. Okay, so we're also going to put it on the top. Okay. And then we're going to start putting this base on. Okay, I like this. And then we're going to need to find our centers, of course. Do a little snippy snip. Oh, I'm getting excited. All right. Get some clips. Of course, we're going to clip in our centers first, like we do always. Straight sides first. And then we're going to snip into this. No more than 1/4 of an inch. Yeah. I would get out like your music and just like chill out and snip into curves. have a snip into curve playlist. I don't know when I scratched my hand, but apparently I did. It's probably on the magnets. This is why you tape them. I like the way water-resistant canvas sounds when it's getting snipped. I don't know what's wrong with me. All right, one more snippety snips. It's like ASMR. She was snipping into curves. All right, here we go. We're going to sew this together at 3/8 of an inch. Back stitch at the beginning and the end. I'm just going to sew just straight up. because this is very pliable. Oh, yeah. This is going to be super cool. All right. Okay, I'm gonna trim. Always trim. Make sure you don't trim your stitches. Ask me how I know. I've done that so many accidental times, not paying attention or listening to music and getting way too into the music. Especially if I'm listening to Queen. All right. Then we're going to get some double-sided tape and we're going to wrap it around here. And we're going to fold this down to the 3/4 of an inch. Line-ish. Okay. All right. Let's get this bag put together. Okay, we're at the final steps and we are putting the bag together. So binder clips, whatever clips you have that can really hold the bag together is helpful. The designer also said if you're worried that something will shift, you could put double-sided tape 1/4 inch down from the top stitching. I didn't put double-sided tape. I am using just the clips. You can sew from the exterior because this is a very floppy bag. And you can also sew from the lining. It's kind of dealer's choice on here. We're going to do long tails. We're going to be pulling the threads from the exterior. We're going to be pulling the threads from the in between, tying them off and pulling them into the lining. I haven't done this step, so bear with me on it. This is my first time making the bag with you guys, so let's do this. Long tails. And just be cognizant of the magnets, your handle, your connectors, and just take your time. It's not a big bag, but it is very, it's very, very, very pliable because there's not a lot of interfacing. If something doesn't feel right, just stop. So just move things out of the way and breathe and take it one clip at a time. And just make sure that the folds are laying on top of each other and there's not one fold that's like stacked higher than the other. When you have to stop, just make sure you're in the needle down position. I know that you have the magnets there, so it's a little cumbersome, but you got this. Before you know it, we're gonna be at the finish line. If you have to readjust stuff, just needle down. If you have a domestic or an industrial that has a free arm or a machine that you're able to put a book or a brick on, this is the time that shines. All right, long tails. Woo! Okay, we did it, guys. All right. So for this next part, it says long tails, we're going to thread the needle and pass the needle through the exterior and the lining. I'm going to see if I make them the same length on the exterior part first. Because they're not the same length. Okay. And I'm going to put them through the hole, one of the holes. All right. I got the exterior tails in. And now I'm going to do this with the interior. I'm going to make them the same length. I'm hoping I'm doing this wrong, so if Sandeep is watching, Please let me know. And I'm putting them in a previous hole and then threading them through the hole and getting them in between the layers. All right. Then we're tying them. I'm going to do 2 because this is like 80 thread. And then we're, I guess, threading them through. Okay. I'm going to have to do this in 2s because I don't think my needle can hold 4 threads. Or maybe it can. Let's see. 1, 3. You're like, hey, how did you get to 1 to 3, Shinova? That's how my brain works, okay? I got all 4 in there. And I'm taking this needle and I'm shimmying it down. Oh my God. I'm shimmying it down. This is not a long needle. Oh my, I think I got it. Hold on. Need a plier. Or hemostats. Hemostats, check. All right. Come on, hemostats, do your job. See, Daddy, I could be a doctor. No, I'm just no trauma. I'm just playing. Okay, we're just. All right, hold on. One. We got 1 thread. 2, 3, 4. Okay. Whoo! Let me get this. What? We did it. Okay. Woo! Okay. All right. Whoa. I feel like I accomplished a lot right now. That was pretty amazing. Okay. I did it. I was really nervous about that. You guys have no idea. Okay, so we did that. We're going to put in the grommets. Now, with a grommet, there's a couple ways you can do this. Some people have dies. I have a die for a 1/2 inch, not 3/8 of an inch. So what I have to do is, there's a couple things. I don't have the die, so I can't do this on camera because this table is not set up and I usually have to do this on the concrete floor. So I'm just going to explain to this and kind of show you what the holes look like before and after. And I'm going to put in a grommet. I'm going to put in some grommets on camera for you, but I can't whack the holes on camera. It will just, it's extremely loud and I have to be on a concrete floor. However, so I get a metal anvil or just a piece of metal heavy, like I use a piece of metal, a punching board, which is well loved as you can see. And then I get a 3/8 of a inch punch. You can get these at your local Lowe's, Home Depot, or you can get them on Amazon. I have my mallet, which you can see is well loved. I set this up where I make sure that my hole, when I'm punching, that I'm not going to be punching through any other part of the bag other than the bag itself. I line this up and I whack it a couple times and then it punches clean and through. And that's how I do that. And I do that I punch all the holes and then I get ready for the grommets. So I'm going to punch the holes and then I'll be back. Okay, guys, we're at the final countdown. We're going to put in some grommets. I just want you to know there's a lot of different methods you can do grommets. You can do the screw-in grommets, which a lot of different vendors have them. Like, these are really cool. These are the ones I believe from Thumbs and Thimbles, but there's different vendors that have some. I think you can even get some on Amazon. And they have these really cool screws that you can just unscrew, put them in, and screw them on and call them a day, and you can get them in different colors. They're the force fits where you have a female and a male and you mallet them together and they come in variations. I got these on Amazon and they are ones that you put in with a die. So I don't have a die for my rivet press. So I got this a while back, and this is a 3/8 of an inch. This is a eyelet punch or a grommet punch, and it's pretty cool. You have a place to put the male and a place to put the female. And the female, you want to make sure that there's a pretty side and a rough side. You want the pretty sides down. So you then just kind of place it over your hole that you just punched and press it in place. It's not always perfect, and you might want to do like a sandwich similar to what you do on a sewing machine to make sure that you have the right amount of pressure or things along that line. But it's very simple. You find the pretty side and the rough side, pretty sides down, metal sides in. And see, this magnet doesn't really fit really well with the rainbow, because the rainbow, I feel like the plating's always different than any other hardware and it's never perfect. And I'm going to put this over and bada bing, bada boom, we're done. Then we are going to do some final touches to this bag. We are going to measure 3/4 of an inch down from the top, and where's my ruler? Punch a hole and put some rivets in here. I just want to make sure. Because, like, it would make me mad if I punched a hole and then, like, one is 1 inch. Because that would happen to me. And let me just double check that one more time for fillings. Okay, and so then we're going to get our hole puncher. And punch holes. This bag is so pretty. Sandeep did a phenomenal job. Make sure you just don't punch into your stitches. And we're going to get 4 rivets. And we're going to set those. All right. And just remember when we measured up, that's where that extra stabilizer went. All right. And then our next part is that we're going to put our D-rings on. Okay, I'm going to set that. Put our other D-ring on. Just kind of thread it through the fabric. All right. And then we're going to put our drawstring on. So you want to find your center. And feed it through the back evenly. And then take it from the sides without getting it all twisted. And just kind of feed it through. Oops, I did not put that grommet on right. Like I said, the system is not always perfect. Oh, it would have helped if I would have put a washer on that one. Personally, I like the screw-in ones a lot because I just feel like they're better, but some people don't like the screw ones because they say that, you know, the screws can come undone with time and age and wear and tear. I never had that issue. All right. Now you have a choice. If you did the longer drawstring, you can knot it. If you did the shorter one, then you put in the tassels, but I did the shorter one. So right here, we're going to do this thing where we're going to fold over. And we're going to do some marking for some rivets for our drawstrings. So it's going through all the layers for the drawstring closure. Just don't hit your threads. That's the main objective, is not hitting your threads. Okay, I'm going to set these. And then I'm going to feed the drawstring through. And if it gets like kind of tight, just get a pair of hemostats and bring them through. I'd rather have it snug and tight than have it loose and not work, if that makes sense. Oh my God. All right. Let me move all this stuff out of the way and tie these into a cute little knot. How cute. Look at how cute this is. You just finished the cutest drawstring bag ever. And it's really soft and malleable. And you have this shoulder strap too. Oh my gosh, this is adorable. You have this beautiful bag that has all these great exterior pockets that are very useful. Like, you can use them. Here's my cell phone. Yeah. Oh yeah, you can use these. You can put your cell phones in this. You can undo this. You have a zipper pocket. You have a nice big slip pocket. A lot of room. So much room in here. So much room. Has a nice magnetic closure. And you put in grommets. And oh God, this is such a beautiful bag. This is my first time making it, so you guys are getting my authentic, oh my God, bag. This is so cool. And you learn so much. I learned so much from this. This is such a really cool bag. We did a lot of pulling up threads, getting continuous stitching, a lot of reinforcement. I really liked the way this bag turned out. Yeah, so if you really enjoyed this bag, I hope you did, and I hope you, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I'm like really enthralled with this bag. If you enjoyed this bag, please comment down below. I would like to know what kind of materials you're making your bag out of. I will put a link in the bottom to where you can purchase the pattern. If you can give this video a thumbs up, and share it if you think it's worthy, I would really appreciate it. Until the next time we speak, I hope everyone has a really good day.